Welcome, my name's Marty Shenkman, and this is a short video about thinking about finances after you've been diagnosed with multiple sclerosis or MS. If you were just diagnosed with MS, there's a raft of things you should do. And I'll tell you a little about me and how I got here, why I'm telling you about this. My wife was diagnosed about 7 years ago with MS, so this is not only a journey that I deal with and help and advise people on professionally, but it's a journey I've been on personally as well. My background is I'm an attorney, an accountant, and a financial planner, so I try to bring a diverse wealth of different knowledge and background to addressing the topic. And in this short video, what I want to try to help you do is give you advice that as a professional I would try to encourage a client to address, and as an individual, as a human being, it's some of the same challenges that I've faced. When you first get diagnosed with MS, it's traumatic, it's difficult, or if a loved one's being diagnosed, you're sharing in their pain and their difficulty and their struggles. Certainly the first things you need to do is focus on doctor's appointments, treatment options, and a wealth of personal issues. Once those things begin to get under control, don't stop there and don't be overwhelmed, even if the process seems overwhelming. You need to address a range of legal, tax, financial, and other planning issues. Not dealing with these will only make it worse. Dealing with them and addressing them head on, however difficult, and I'm not saying it's not, I've been there, it is, will make it much, much easier and safer and hopefully more secure for you and your loved ones as time goes on. So what I'm going to go through following is really a summary of some of just the highlights. There's obviously going to be nuances for you. Everybody's situation is different depending on your level of wealth, your income, whether you keep working or have stopped working, and when that may occur, help from family. There's a range of differences that everybody has to address. And even though I won't repeat it for each comment, the laws in every state are very, very different. So there could be a number of personal aspects or facets to this that you're going to need to address. It'll be different than things you read on the internet or other people you talk to. So let's get started. Just keep some of those caveats in mind. One of the first steps you need to do is make an assessment or tally of the assets. What do you own? In effect, really what you want to do is put together a personal balance sheet. This is vital for a number of reasons. First of all, you have to get in control of what you can control, because your diagnosis and the disease challenge will be things that you can't always control. So everything you can control will help empower you. The more you simplify, and simplification means organize your personal financial affairs, the easier it'll be to deal with things, the easier it'll be to make better decisions, the easier it'll be to interface with financial planners and other experts that you're going to need to consult with. So step one, put together a balance sheet, tally up your assets. Next, insurance. I'm not talking health insurance yet, all other types of insurance. You may own a disability policy. A disability policy is a policy that pays for your income replacement if you can't work. You may have one through work, you may have one through an association or professional organization you join. You may not even remember that you have one. It may be part of a group or plan from your employer. Be sure to find out if you have a disability policy, read it, go through it carefully. If there's things you don't understand, speak to somebody. A disability income replacement policy could be a huge safety net for you. Make sure you look into it. Don't stop there. Take a look at all forms of insurance. Do you have a homeowner's policy? If you have a homeowner's policy, does it cover what you need? If you have a diagnosis, if you're in a car accident, might somebody that you got in the accident with, whether you were at fault or not, bring up your MS as a challenge to say you had an attack, you were fatigued, you were this, you were that. Make sure you have an umbrella liability policy so that you have adequate liability insurance. If you have life insurance, don't cancel it. If you have life insurance, talk to an independent financial planner, get some input about what you can do with that life insurance and what your options are. Too often, people don't get proactive on this and they lose huge opportunities. In one case I've seen, or from one perspective, I've seen many people cancel life insurance when it was the last thing they should do. You may never get other life insurance. On the other hand, if you can't afford the life insurance, it may be feasible with your diagnosis to sell a permanent policy in the secondary market. It could be a great source of cash you didn't even realize you may have. And for others, from yet another very different perspective on life insurance, if you have the wherewithal and you have a term insurance policy, you may be able to convert that term policy into a permanent policy and assure that you'll have coverage for the rest of your life. With your diagnosis, if you don't do that up front, you may never get insurance again. So it's really critical to take a very broad perspective of all the different insurances that you have and make sure that you address them. Disability insurance, property casualty insurance, liability coverage, life insurance, and so on. Get an insurance expert involved, get some help. The next area, which I'm really not a great expert in, I just couldn't leave it out because it's so vital, is health insurance. Go through whatever options you have, review and try to really understand what coverage you have, if you have coverage. If you have coverage, take a look at the co-pays, co-insurance. Look at what options there are. If you have an insurance policy through work, talk to the Human Resource Department. There may be options that you can elect a better or broader coverage. Take a look at the prescription coverage, and it's critical to understand exactly what it will and won't cover. It's critical to understand whether there's different ways you can handle it to make sure you maximize the protection you have. If your work position, your employment is in question at some point, talk to an attorney about COBRA and continuing your coverage. Don't lose coverage until you know the consequences either way. The least favorite thing for pretty much anybody and everybody is to do a budget. It's really not a four-letter word. It's really the heart of your financial security. And regardless how little you have and how hopeless things may feel or how wealthy you are and how you feel it's beneath you, everybody needs a budget. And if you've just been diagnosed with MS, you can't really project how MS may affect your financial future if you don't have a foundation. The foundation is a budget of where you are now. And if you will simply bite the bullet and go through this unpleasant task in an intelligent and comprehensive and logical manner, you will really set the foundation for you to be able to plan going forward. If you've been diagnosed with MS, you may have changes in the future with work. You may have anticipated working for 20, 30 more years. Maybe it's only 10 or 15 years, maybe less. If you have a foundation of a budget, you can then evaluate how these different things will impact you. The average age of diagnosis of MS is perhaps in the mid-30s. So you may already have a retirement plan, a 401k. You may already have resources and assets. What do you do with them? You can't make those decisions. How do you invest them? You can't make those decisions. What do you do with your life insurance that we spoke about earlier? Again, you can't make any of these decisions until you take the first step, which is a budget. What are you really spending money on? Now, the optimal way, and we'll mention this later, to really do a budget is to get real numbers of what you're actually spending, not to look at assumptions, not to use a gut feel, because your gut of what you think you're spending could be dramatically different. The ideal way is to get your checkbook, and if you have more than one checking account or money market account where you write bills, get all that information onto a computer program like Quicken. Not hard to do. Lots of people can help you, and we'll tell you how the society can help you again at the end. But if you can get that information, then you're looking at real expenses. This is critical, and I'm going to use a trite analogy that I think can really drive the point home. If your aim is an inch off today, you can miss by 100 miles. If you start with a budget today and you make some minor changes in expenses today, and let's say you can work for another 12 years, those changes over the next 12 years, plus a proper investment plan, can leave you in a dramatically different and far more secure and safe position 12 years from now or 10 years from now than not doing it. Don't delay. Time is critical. Another topic that's critical for many people, if you're working and you've just been diagnosed with MS, don't do anything yet. Don't do anything rash. Take a deep breath. Don't quit. Don't tell. First, you have to get your medical situation under control. You need to speak to your physician, your neurologist. You need to understand rationally, logically, and calmly how your diagnosis will affect your ability to work. Will it affect it immediately, in the long term? How long of a term? Are there changes you need? Are there accommodations you need? Before you do anything, understand that people at work could be very helpful and supportive. People at work could be very, very much unsupportive, unhelpful, and in fact use your diagnosis or your conduct as a means to remove or end your employment or your position with the company. And while the ADA is there to protect you, there's nothing that simple, and it's certainly not a risk we're taking. First, get your medical knowledge squared away. Then, what I strongly encourage you to do, and even if you're hard-pressed or feel concerned financially, it's probably a worthwhile investment. Find an attorney in your state that understands and deals with employment and business law. If you have an employment agreement, a union contract, a shareholders agreement because you're a part owner, have the attorney review all those documents, bring to the attorney some information about what your diagnosis is, perhaps even a letter from your neurologist about your situation, how it affects your employment and how it may affect your employment. Figure out and discuss what the appropriate ways are to inform your employer, when you have to inform them, how you have to inform them, what you have to inform them of. If there's an agreement or contract and you have certain rights under that, you need to understand that. So even if you feel you have a handle on it, even if you feel you have a great relationship at your job, take a deep breath, get the medical knowledge, talk to an attorney, go about it in the right way. How you handle this could be so critical to your next steps. And it's perhaps one of the most important financial steps you may take, because if you mishandle it and end up leaving your job years early or losing your job or getting bought out of a business you're involved in for the wrong price, that today could have devastating consequences. On the other hand, if you take a deep breath, you get the medical knowledge, and you find an attorney that can guide you and you handle it properly, you may be able to continue working, obtain accommodations, and do things that will keep you in a much better financial position. Much of what we've just talked about are really the components of what comes down to what's broadly called a financial plan. When you get your list of assets and you understand the details of your assets, your insurance coverage, your budget, you're now beginning to be in a position to really do a financial plan. And that's the heart of what you need to do. You need a financial plan because that's what pulls it all together. A financial plan is going to take your budget, it's going to take your expenses, you can evaluate what you can afford to cut, what you have to cut even if you're not comfortable. You can evaluate and determine how you should be investing your assets. Let me give an illustration. Many financial planners, if you tell them, I have a chronic disease, their assumption, erroneous, is that you should now be investing in a very conservative, highly liquid manner. That may be the opposite of what you really need. If you're in your 30s or 40s and you have savings, you have a 401k, you have money saved, you may be able to work another, say, 7 years, for example. The money that you can earn, the tightening on your budget, aggressively investing what you have may very well put you in a position 7 years forward when you stop working or cut back significantly at work to be in a financially secure position, versus if you invest very conservatively or in a liquid way, it may be the opposite. So what you need to do is get a financial plan. Now, what you can do in order to get the right information, if you don't have a financial planner or you don't have the wherewithal to get one, the National MS Society has a financial planning program with the Society of Financial Service Professionals, the SFSP. The Society, the National MS Society's Financial Education Partners Program can be a huge help. Go to their website, they can guide you. So once you've done all the preliminary steps and put together all the paperwork and your budget, your financial expenditures and everything else, make a plan. Clearly you want to hope for the best. You should always hope for the best, but you have to plan for the worst. We've been through a number of years in 2008 and 2009, but it's continued even after that, of some really tough economic times. You need to plan. You need to go through the what ifs. You need somebody that's independent of what could be the maelstrom that you're going through because of your recent diagnosis that can help guide you. Get that objective advice. With the core of your financial plan, you need to also go another step further. Don't put it off, and that's to address basic estate planning. Don't say, gee, I'm young, I don't need a will, I don't have a lot of money. It's not only about a will, it's not about dying, it's about living. An estate plan is about planning for your life, not necessarily primarily about planning for death, and it's not just about a will. So if you've been diagnosed with MS or a loved one, you need a durable power of attorney. A power of attorney is a document in which you name an agent to take financial legal decisions for you. If you are ill, if you have an exacerbation, if you're preoccupied with other things, designating someone you can trust to take care of financial matters for you is a huge help, and it's really a vital part of your security net. You need a number of health-related documents. The three of them are a living will, a health proxy, and a HIPAA release. I'll define them very briefly. A living will is a document in which you state your medical wishes. So if you have MS, you may want to donate, for example, CNS tissues, central nervous system tissues for medical research to help others with the same challenges you may be facing. You may want certain religious wishes adhered to. You need to make that clear. Health proxy or medical directive or medical power of attorney, as it sometimes is called, is a document in which you designate someone to make health and medical decisions for you if you cannot do so. It's vital that you do this. And you want this stuff done so you don't have the extra stress that if something happens, how's it going to be addressed? And the final medical related document is a HIPAA release. HIPAA is the acronym for Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act. Forget it, you're not going to want to remember it. But the HIPAA release is basically a document in which you empower someone to see your medical records. So you may not have a life and death medical decision, but you may want someone to monitor your medical charts so they can interface with your doctor, your neurologist, your family. You need a HIPAA release. So even if these are the last things you want to do and you're feeling financially pressed, get done what you need. There's lots of ways you can do it more cost effectively, but be aware that you do need an attorney that is licensed in your state to guide you. Be wary of doing something online that may not address some of the MS and personal issues that you want addressed. There will be some cost, but you do need to address this. And when you combine all the steps that led up to the financial plan and the estate plan, you will find that you're in a much more secure position. And however difficult this stuff is to deal with, and it all will be, and it's not going to be on the top of your list because you're going to be so focused on medical issues, the ostrich approach won't work. Sticking your head in the sand is not going to help you. Getting hyper-focused on medical issues or getting depressed and not wanting to address these issues because they're just reminding you of some of the challenges ahead is only going to hurt you more. Think of the trite analogy I gave you earlier about the rocket ship. It's so very true and telling. If you get on the right path quickly, you can forgo all sorts of expenses and difficulties later. Deferring what you eventually are going to have to deal with is only going to make it more difficult, more costly, and worse, risk you having spent money and made bad investment decisions or not protected yourself. Now, if this all seems still daunting and overwhelming, I'm going to give you another analogy, the swimming pool analogy. When you get into a cold swimming pool, some people go on the high board and just dive in. I kind of stick my toe in, then my foot, then my ankle, maybe up to the calf. You can do this stuff step by step. Dip in your toe, start with a budget, call your insurance consultant. Next week, next month, call a financial planner. Do it step by step, but don't delay. Once you start to get in and realize that you're so helping yourself, that in itself will be empowering. So take the plunge, get on the path, and help secure your future. I hope this was of some help, and again, just as a caveat, be very mindful of the things that you may read or hear. Everybody's situation is different, state laws are different, so take charge, empower yourself, and good luck. Thank you.